no problem. And this was okay. Okay, I'm Gianluca Vita. I'm from the Politecnico di Milano. I am what? Yes, it's in Italy, in Milan, and I begin to use Blender for many years ago. In my courses that I have in Politecnico di Milano, and we start more or less 8 years ago, and my courses are made with for computer design, and we are interested to teach to the students, more the architects, to use the 3D as a tool for project. Not just a tool for show the project, but to make the project. The 3D modeler is a tool that you have to use to be a project, not to make the project. Project is not a toothpaste. You don't have to make the project and then to tell the project with the 3D. But 3D is the tool that you use. For Blender users, it's normal. But for the students of architecture, it's not so normal, because they use computer and drawings at the end, just to make the rendering of the project that they need. And I'm here to speak about some problem that I see in this year with all the students and all the newcomers. The free argument that I want to speak for you is how newcomers approach to Blender. Every one of us know that Blender is not easy and don't have to be easy. I understood this in these days, and is a correct idea that don't have to be easy. But sometimes we lose, or you lose, many users, potential users. So what we can do about this? The second thing is architectural desktop. It's possible to think to imagine something that is useful for architects. Architects need measure, dimension. They think in a different way than modelers and people that use make movies. So I want to speak to this, and then I want to present just for a few minutes my workshop, 3D Corton Open 3D. That is a workshop that I made in Corton every year, and we project using Blender. We make a course of Blender, and at the same time, the students make a project about the smart city. And for me, it's important because Blender is a 3D suite. Everything can be inside Blender. And the connection between the concept of smart city and the 3D modelers, I think that can be more interesting in future. I begin. Okay. Everything starts with the courses that I do at Politecnico, innovative instrument of representation technique, virtual space, and visual communication. And I begin to make these courses with 3D Max, I think many years ago, 10 years ago. But one day I change and I go on Blender, because I think that university don't have to go with the normal software, but has to go to the open source software. And I was amazing. I was too happy, because when I have to explain to newcomers, to people that never use 3D modelers before, when I have to explain how it's work when I use Blender, it's very, very, very easy. Because before I have to open a window, well, I don't speak about 3D Max, but I was using that. Open a window, open another window, it was crazy. With Blender, every time I have to explain something, I have to say, go there and click this. And this, for explaining, is very, very useful. And in this course, I have a community. We have a Facebook community. It's a page on Facebook that every year the students subscribe this page. At this moment, we have more or less 850 students, participants, and we share our work and the classwork and homework in this community. if someone of you want to be involved or want to subscribe this, they ask sometimes, they make questions, we try to respond, is where we connect with the student of this year and with the student of the past years. And I show to you some model, something that the students make in some years. Most of the students are starting from zero level, so from scratch. They really don't know nothing about the works. So obviously are not works of the quality that you're used to show in this convention, but in my opinion, for people that begins to use the 3D software, and mostly that don't want to use the 3D software, but have to use it. Because today to be architect, you have to know to use some software or some 3D software. But what is important is the choice that they made. I show you some pictures again. Old works. Okay. And some about from architecture, designs, and the grass is very important. And so this was. And some use Blender for work with photo modeler. They made sometimes, this is not in this course, but it's for the thesis. They made photo modeling and then work with it for renderings and for adjusting the mesh inside Blender. And I show to you just very fast a little movie, and I think that no, it's just photo modeling. Using photoscan or some similar, and they make the model, and then they don't work, or they work very little on the mesh. They just fill the holes and do some little work. But I think this too is a very interesting kind of work. Okay, I go back on this. Okay, then in these days I have new students, and I have an idea of what they think. But I make a little questionnaire, a little test. And stupid question, but for me maybe it's important. Is Blender cool? This is a surprising, very good answer, I think. And is easy? They don't think it's easy at the beginning. And is powerful? Yes, very much. Okay. But what for me is a problem is when I ask what software have you tried before, is the answer is this. Okay. Everyone, more or less, have tried using this. I'm speaking about 100 students, more or less. And everyone never, or one of two, tried to use Blender, but use this software. And maybe they know that, okay, it's weak, it's not powerful, but they use it. And I ask to myself, why? Maybe because they have all that you need in life. You have a reference system, X, Y, Z, you can see. You have an horizon, a place where you have to go, you have a girlfriend to go with. This is, for me, the reason. But I'm joking, but maybe it's not so stupid thing. It's a joke, but I think that opening that, they find something that they can play with, and they begin to play, and I think this is the most reason. Okay, there is other reason, it's Google, there is many reasons, but I see that there is this thing I call the climber learning. Three kinds of students. They learn and then they don't use it. They learn and they use it and they learn the yellow one and they grow up are very better than me. Like Giovanni, for example, that began with me years ago and now is one of the masters of the course. So, the climb of learning. Blender, as everyone every one of us know, as when you open it, it's so difficult to see. But the approach, you see so many buttons, and so they scare. Obviously, when you have a course, you oblige it to learn. They have to learn, so you begin, and in 4 hours, they make a nice rendering. But nice rendering seems good lighting, good modeling, nice modeling. I begin with cycles immediately. After 2 hours, they are making a box with a monkey, with a plane, with 3 lights, with something interesting. So it's not a problem, in my opinion, of the use of Blender, but just a beginning is scary. And so people try other software. So my very, 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 in Italian, modesta opinione, I'm here to learn, not to teach, is that maybe someone can invent something like a playground, I don't know, a kindergarten. In some places, maybe a button in this splash page where you press and there is something that is more simplified. And you can begin to play with some object, with some big buttons and with something very, very, very simple. So you can be attracted to learn the software. And as I say, I understood in these days that this is software that is thinking for artists, and artists need complicated and powerful software. It's not, there is nothing different. But I think that maybe a kindergarten, some kind of kindergarten can be useful for beginning. For the one that don't have someone that says to you, okay, now you have to learn. First. Yes.
Tonnen mentioned that Blender 101 project it will be a simplified interface with no buttons, and which could be used in schools, kindergartens, and I think it's what you're talking about.
Yes, I hear that, but the first day I was here for the first time, he said, okay, the interface is so, and I think, okay, now what I say. And then he said that too, so I'm very happy about the second part. Otherwise, if he don't say that, I erase this slide for sure. And second problem, I work with architects, designers, but more architects. And this is the rendering for architects. This is an old drawing of Frank Lloyd Wright about the Guggenheim Museum in New York. And how think architects? The architect thinks at least in 2 dimensions. They have to work in 3 dimensions, but all the school that today we have for young architects is based on 2-dimensional drawings. This is a perspective, but at the end is 2-dimensional drawing. It's a planar perspective. In Italian is una conica planare. Blender and the photographer and the cameras work with una prospettiva conica. I don't know exactly the word in English, and this is what they train, the kind of drawings that at the beginning they have to do. Obviously, today we have different architecture. We have Zadid, we have Frank, we have O'Gary, you know. The architecture that seems potatoes and spaghetti and this kind of thing. But most in Italy, I think in the north of Europe is a little bit different. They work for 1 on 100 can work with strange shapes, the grasshopper shapes. But they live all their life with plan and section. Because normal architect has to work at the level where you have to speak with the people that you have to communicate with, plan and section. So they think in this way. And other problem, they begin work using AutoCAD. So they think that use computer is using AutoCAD. They begin by himself and they try, they need to make lines. So, where is the problem? They ever asked me dimension. The first day, oh, Professor, how can I manage the dimension? How can I measure it? I didn't have dimension. I don't have dimension. It's something that makes to me crazy more than the other thing. And the answer is this exercise. This is the building of Mies van der Rohe, and we make an exercise to model this. This is very simple because everything is a 90-degree. And I use this system that I think is very clear for you. I import 2D-dimensional draw, and the XF importer now is very improved in these days, and it's very good work. And I select, I say to select a vertex, and then extrude x, y, or zeta, the axis, and the number, the quantity of the extrusion. I don't know if you want, I explain, if I show to you, but I think I show? Okay, no, and I don't know if I think is enough clear, no? Okay, this is okay, now you're free. Now put the axis, Z, and then the dimension, 23, and I make the line. Now, it's very similar to what they do in the software that they learn normally before the 3D modeler. And so it's work. After one lesson or two lessons, some hours, they can manage this because it's very fast. And when you draw, when you make a relief of a plan of some houses, you work in this way, more or less. You make the draw, and then the dimension you put exactly in this way. And so it's very effective. It's worked very well. But the interaction, more for newcomers, is not so easy. It's simple to do, but you have to modify something. Is not so fine. So the idea can be to have some interface, something that you can put there that help you to manage the dimension. I don't know what. I'm not here to learn, but maybe to speak with you if you're interested of what is possible to do, if it's possible, if it's interesting, as add-on or some different thing. Yes, I see that there is a cycle on rhinoceros in the future, but I'm not sure that is the correct answer. Why? My hope is that the students of architecture go out from the two-dimensional thinking and go inside the world of the three-dimensional thing. Because the project they made is obviously come from his mind, but from the interaction with the tool. And the classical two-dimensional software, vectorial software, it's an old way. It's like to project on the Technigrapho, on the table, but just with a computer. And otherwise, this kind of tool, like a Blender or some similar, is a different way of thinking. So for me, it can be important that in the future they work with a more sophisticated tool and not just thinking in two-dimensional way. So, if it's possible, we can speak on this. And at the end, the third thing, I want to show you the workshop that we made in Cortona every year. Is a workshop where it's 1 week. The students come. This year I'm very happy because there was 70 students. And they come in the city of Cortona, that is in the center of Italy, and they make a project with Blender. They have a course of Blender, and they learn the software. We have two sessions, the basic and the advanced. One of the professor of the advanced is here, is Giovanni, and I hope next year to make the more advanced version of the course. And they make a project that is a project connected with the argument of the smart city. Okay, you can see the city of Cortona is here in the center between Firenze and Roma, a beautiful place. This is the city, it's a very little city inside the walls, the ancient walls of the Etruscan, before the Roman. So it's a very old city, and it can be strange to make a project on the smart city on this kind of city. But I think it's very interesting to go in some ancient or historical city and to take the contemporary use of the city and of the internet and this kind of thing. This is me. This is one of the class we have. Why is important for me? As I said before, this tool that they use to make a project change his way to make the project, change his mind. So for me, it's important that they go there for make a project that connect the past and the future. What I mean, that the city today are not designed just by stones, by concrete, by roads, but are designed with different things that are all the things that we have in our laptop, in our devices, and we can make different use of the city, and the city now, today, is a different thing. And so what I want they learn and they try to understand is to make the project using a tool that can help this kind of comprehension. I call this smart city design, because the tool and the project are connected. The tool is nothing, and the mind is nothing, but the connection between these two objects is very important, and the project comes from this, and the innovation more comes from this. And I don't know what will be about the city in the future, but for sure it will be something different. And I have an idea that the suite of Blender that is making something more than a 3D modeler is something more connected, the rigging, the modeling, the post-production, is something more connected with life than with the 3D model. And so, I don't know how and why, but I think there is some connection with the future of the city and the use of a software like Blender that is not, as I say before, a modeler, but is a suite, something more. I show to you now some project that they made. Some is funny, some is more graphical. They have not so much time to make projects, but these students too, most of them start from scratch, and so the result I think can be some interesting. And this was a project for a diffuse concert, a concert hall with every player in a different place of the city, connected. This is for a bench without Wi-Fi. You can go there and just thinking and looking, or read a book. This was a project for give the Wi-Fi to all the city, because obviously in Italy, more you go to the south, more you have problem to connect and to have internet and this kind of stuff. This is a covering. This is another project about the building of the major, covering for the place. Another piazza that can move and change, and that's all for this. Obviously, if someone is interested, you can. We have. I don't show you. Okay, this is the Facebook page of our workshop. I show you some funny things. I'm very happy, as I say to you, that I take Blender to to many people and to many students. I think that I have more than 1,000 people that try and that learn it and that make an exam with Blender in this year. So, this can be interesting. And for me, more or less is enough. And I think, I hope next year, maybe, to take to you the result of the workshop of this year and next year, because I was not on the target of the presentation of this. And so I try to make everything that is my work in these days. And it's all. Thanks. That's all.
We have still some time for one question.
What I didn't quite get, because you said they're thinking too much in 2D, like the second point. And yes. What I wasn't sure about, do you mean that they already have an idea for an architectural design in their head, and in the way they are building this, they are thinking too much in 2D? Or do you mean that the design process itself, which creates their vision, is too much rooted in 2D and building layers that then make up a 3D thing?
Both things. They think at the project beginning in the plan. So this is a problem of architecture. Then in the past, in the past was 3-dimensional. If you think to, I don't know, Palladio, I don't know, he think in 3 dimensions before the facade and then the plan. Today with the modern, we architects, we made before the plan and then the facade. And the school teach this. And for me it's wrong, because today architecture is changing, and maybe in everyday life we make this kind of project, but the project of today is something where the section and the plan is something that you can change. You can think to Franco Gehry did, I don't know, you for Graz, you know, I call the big potato of Graz. So this is the architecture. And so the school teach to think plan and then facade. And the software, the software, vectorial software help and go in this way. And I think that we have to try to break this and to go in a world where the students, the architects are thinking directly in 3D. And the software as Blender can help very much in this. But for convinced to use the students and the architects to use this software, maybe they need a little bit help, like the kindergarten and I call architectural desktop, because otherwise, maybe before they understood that is useful, they change. And this is because they we call it minimo sforzo con massimo risultato. And so sometimes we lose some good user for this software and this way of thinking. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.